What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Map. You're here with D-Boy and we are with the raging tactics for the reveals for Spike Brothers. This is part 2. If you haven't checked part 1 yet, you could check it out. The link will be in the description section below. Remember, guys, that this would be a long ass video because we have 5 cards that are revealed, being a VR, a double rare and 3 commons, and there's so much to talk about. So if you have the time, grab some popcorn, some chips, something to drink, and then you could check this video out. So we are starting with the reveals for Spike Brothers, and we know we have 1 VR, 2 triple rares, 3 double rares, some rares which are 5, and then we have some commons. We don't know if they are 11 or 10 commons because there is a card that we don't know if it would be a common or maybe something else, or it could be a marker. Let's wait and see. For the first video, we covered up that we are getting 3 reprints of the triggers that we have already got. So we're getting Tiara back, Silent Joker, and Cheerful Linux. The downside to this is they will be the same arts and the same cards. So it's like just a waste of paper in my opinion, and Bushiroad should have at least come with a different art, but they didn't, so it is what it is. Next thing we got is a new starter. It could be the same Mega Trainer with a different art. It could be something else with the same skill. Let's wait and see. And last but not least, we got Offensive Punter, which is an amazing rare that we have got. We covered that in the last video, so don't forget to check it out. For now, we have our VR, which is Deadheat Bullspike. One thing, the art is amazing. The uses is a 3 from 5 and the skill is a 4 from 5. So the art is a 4 from 5. I'm not giving a 5 from 5, at least the card is really good or broken. So first let's start with his ability. Remember guys, this is the VR, so this is the card that will set the tone for the next reveals. So what we have is 2 abilities, 2 auto abilities, and they only work on Vanguard. The first one is whenever a unit attacks, so himself or any of your other rare guards, you can pay the cost, which is a Soul Blast of 1, and you could move all of your force markers to that circle. Alright. I will finish the skill before I talk about it. Second ability is, again, a Vanguard ability, and this one's only once per turn. The first one you could use multiple times. When an attack of one of your units, which has a marker on it, does not hit, you could draw a card and retire something from your opponent's regular circles. So this card has a different approach than Siegfried. 1, it doesn't cost Counterblast, it costs Soul. 2, you could use the first ability multiple times, which means that having force markers could go and 3, the second ability means that you could draw and retire without having to hit, and it is a unit, not himself, so that means that at least you get the draw and retirement each turn. Okay, now we talk about the uses. In which deck is this card good? Well, in multiple decks actually, all of the standard decks. So we are counting 2 standard decks and 3 premium decks. The 3 premium decks that we are talking about is the Bad and Dragger deck, the Charge deck that uses Rising, and then the Hybrid Turbos, or you could also count the I could say that you also have the Aggro deck, but in my opinion that is kind of the Bad and Dragger deck, at least until we get Bad and Dragger. So you could say that this card could be used in both standard decks and in the Bad and Dragger deck. Why is this card good in the Bad and Dragger deck? We'll talk about that in a minute when we go into the skill. So that's why it gets 3 from 5. It is not good in the aggro deck because it's kind of, when you ride into it first, it's the same as Siegfried. It does have that not hit pressure and moving your marker around, so it's really good if you go into it first. But after that, in premium, it doesn't do much. But I could see this card being used in an aggro premium deck, because on your first, if you go first, then you have a lot of benefit. But me myself, I do not count on putting a 4 of something that you have to ride into, and also you have to go first, especially in a best of 1 format. In a best of 3 format, maybe yes, but in best of 1 format, no. That's why it's only getting a 3 from 5. But it is very, 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 very good in the Bad and Dragger deck. So you could definitely use it there. Then we talk about the skill. The skill is 4 from 5. It's not broken, which is good. It has something that is very, very good in Spike Brothers, because it is kind of the theme, passing the ball around or passing the force markers in this case. Something that we have already heard about from different YouTubers and from different people on Facebook. But it's really amazing that the first ability is so easy to use and it's not once per turn, and the second ability gives you pluses and retirement power. So first thing that comes in mind is the insane amount of power that you could use while using Force 1. But in that case, some of the cards in this set need to be able to generate force markers. Like the Bad and Dragger maybe on the right generate 2 markers, the same as Humske. I don't know. Or the same way as now you could do with Blaster Dark and Phantom, which is kind of whenever you place a Blaster Dark you get a marker. So maybe something like that. We don't know. We have to wait and see. But even without that, with riding like the first time into him and then the second time into him again, or the first time into Siegfried, have a hit pressure, then him, you have 2 force markers to move around, which is still a lot, so that's really good. But what happens with Force 2? Well, that's the insane thing about this card. It is very good with Force 2, because now you could ride into him, give Force 2 into himself, and then attack, and then your opponent will guard that. Then you attack with the rear guard, and then you give that marker, that only Force 2 marker, to that rear guard, you attack with it, and then you give that Force 2 marker to another rear guard, and you attack with it. And that's what makes this card amazingly good, is it could use that one Force 2 marker with the 3 attacks, which means that your opponent will eventually take like 4 damage or something like that on their before they go into grade 3, so before they could generate some advantage. So that's why it's good in premium and in standard. That's the one thing that makes this card amazing in the aggro deck. It is a good right target. Now we have the retirement power and the +1. You always get that. The retirement power is good. It's way better than Siegfried's, because one of your attack would definitely not hit. Otherwise you will do your opponent like 6 damage because of Force 2. If you're playing Force 2. If you're playing Force 1, maybe they will take all 3 attacks, I don't know. But you will almost always get that draw 1 and retire 1 from your opponent, so that's good. Which is, you could take out some problematic units they have on the field. Alright. Then this card is kind of the same as Siegfried, but works in a different way. So that would mean that we have multiple standard decks that we can make right now. And it does take a different approach to the clan than Siegfried, which is very good, because now in our current build we have Siegfried as the main grade 3, and everything runs around having Siegfried, or maybe later on in the game riding to Unite Attack or something, but you don't want to ride to a Juggernaut, so you have only one good right target, which is actually Siegfried, and this is an amazing right target in the early game. In the later game you need something as a finisher, which this card is not. So you could say we could go into this early game, then go to Siegfried as a mid game, and then have a finisher or something. I don't know, I have to wait and see. Alright, then in premium, again, he works very, very good with the aggro deck. Which means if you ride into him first, you get the force marker, which is Force 2, use it with your Brackies, with your Juggernauts, because now you could run 4 copies of this, 4 copies of Juggernaut. You do not have to use your Counterblasts, which mean your Agrius is good, which mean you could use your Spike Monsters, and that would do a lot of damage on your opponent, and this would legit make the aggro deck more interesting, even for me to play, which is, I'm not a big fan of the aggro Spike deck, because I think it's just one way to go into it, but this card is amazing, and it does very, very, very good into pressuring your opponent to using a lot of their shield to be able to guard those attacks, and still you get to retire something and draw 1, which is you retire that problematic starter or unit that your opponent has on the field. Then with the Badan Dragger. Talking about the Badan Dragger deck in Premium, his card does a lot, because now we do not have to use the old Badan Dragger anymore. Even without knowing what the new Badan Dragger does, it still gives a force marker, I'm sure of it. Maybe even 2, we'll have to wait and see. But riding into the Badan Dragger, then using Good End to go into this card and something else, which will give you 2 force markers, and there is no more double break ride, but you do get 2 force markers. With the original force marker that you already got from the skill of the Badan Dragger, or the marker that Badan Dragger gave, you have 3 force markers, which mostly will be force 1, and you could move those around. Or even you could do force 2, but without using this card, and you still have like a lot of good attacks. But talking about force 1, you will have 30k to go around using this card, and that's amazing, because like you can go whoop 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 whoop, which is good because you have multiple attacks using the Badan Dragger with some of the cards, because Badan Dragger put them back and you could like recall them with the stand trick or with Mega Instructor, which is very good. So that does make the deck even better, and having this card as a rested Vanguard still does something. It draws you 1, retire 1 of your opponent's Vanguards, and still could give you the ability to move your force markers. So that's amazing. That's why this card is really good, but it's not OP. It's not overpowered at all, but it is suitable for Spike Brothers, especially the ability that you move your force markers around, and having a different approach than Siegfried is very good. One downside, it is not a killer, which is something that we need in Spike, but we'll have to wait and see. Alright, that would be our VR. Next, we go into a new one, which is Danger or Derange THADDEUS, I think, how you would pronounce him. So Derange THADDEUS is a card which is a double rare that we have got in Spike Brothers for the reveals of last week. Alright, so on the attack, we'll just start with the ability first and then talk about the art uses and the skill. Okay, so when this unit attack, you pay the cost, which is a counterblast of 1. Then you move all of your force markers to this unit circle. So it works great with the mechanic of Bullspike, but also if you don't have Bullspike. Like with Siegfried, this card would work amazing, because now you could use those markers to go around without having Bullspike, because this costs a counterblast and Bullspike costs a soul blast. So it's good. So you have like the 2 costs that you could use depending on what you have left, soul or counterblast. Then the second ability, when this attack hits, if it has a marker beneath it, then you can retire 1 of your opponent's Vanguard. Okay, first the art. I would love to give this card 5 from 5, but I really just can't. There is definitely better, but this card is amazing. The way the picture is made, like from the from upside down, that you can see like the field behind him, you can see the colors in green, you see the purple color of Spike Brothers, you see the weapon, you see him making this sign, which is kind of he had already made a touchdown or something, is amazing. So that's why the art gets from 4 from 5, and it's just it could be a 5, 4, 4.5. I have to give it 4.5. The uses is also 4 from 5. Why? It's good in the aggro deck. It's good in the Badan Dragger deck. It could be used even in the Turbo GB8 deck, in the hybrid. You cannot use it in the charge deck, that's the only thing, and you will use it maybe in both standard decks. But it is not a 4-off. There is no need to play this card as a 4-off, because it is not good in the early game. In the early game, this card does nothing. There is no markers to move around. There is no marker beneath this card to have the hit pressure, so that's why it's a 4 from 5. The skill, the same. It also gets 4 from 5 because it's not good in the early game. Otherwise, this card would have got a 5 from 5. Being a double rare, it's really good double rare. Alright, now we have the things that we could talk about. First of all, because it works great with the mechanic, you have insane amount of power with Force 1 using Siegfried or Bullspike if you do not have enough soul. If you, let's say, ride into offensive first, then you went into a, let's say, Spike Bouncer, then you have almost no soul left and you could use this card. But it's also good with Force 2 with going into Siegfried, but it costs the Counterblast, so I don't know. But it's still, what I'm trying to say, if you have Siegfried, you ride into him, you give the Force 2 marker to the Vanguard on, let's say, the left, alright? Then you activate Siegfried ability to put this card into your soul, or that Vanguard, or both of them, to call this on the right. You attack first with the Vanguard that already have the Force 2 marker. Then you attack with Siegfried. They will definitely guard your Siegfried. And with that, you could attack with this one as last attack, and then use its ability to move that Force 2 marker into this card. Then maybe this card is already very strong, like a 20k, with booster 29, with the Siegfried skill, that's 38. 38 maybe already having a crit, and you already move Force 2, and your opponent just guarded Siegfried. This is a 3 damage that your opponent have to get, and that's why this card is very, very, very good in Standard. In Premium, on the other hand, this card does help to get rid of problematic cards, like during your GBA turn. When you attack with this card, it has the hit pressure, but at the same time, your opponent, you could say, yeah, but my opponent could guard and I would retire nothing. That's good. Why? Because normally your opponent will take the early attacks because they want to get triggers to be able to guard your later attacks. So with this, they would have to waste their guard early on this card, which is already amazing because this card already is attacking for a high number. So this card does a lot. It has hit pressure, it has retirement power, and it could use the new mechanic of moving the markers around. Okay, now the downside. The Counterblast of 1. This card works great with Siegfried, but Siegfried also needs a Counterblast, so what's with the Counterblast? Why not Soul Blast, the same as Bullspike? On the other hand, it does work good with Bullspike because it does not require Soul Blast but Counterblast. So it's good both ways. Then it needs to hit to be able to retire something, which is, we already have that. We already have the Wolf. We already have Cobalt Impulse, which is the Wolf, which works with the GB8 as well, but again, it needs the hit pressure. It needs to hit to be able to retire, which is something that we already have got in Spike. If this card has a different ability on retiring, that would be better. Not hitting, maybe. I don't know. Last but not least, it does nothing in the early game because you do not have markers. And that's about it for this card. Alright, then we have our first double rare. Next, we have got the first common of the 3 commons that I told you that we are going to talk about. So, Breaking GRANDMOBILE. What an amazing name. This card has a very interesting ability, which also let us think, will Spike get a kind of restander? I don't know. Or is it a different approach to making like a Siegfried deck with this card? That could work. I could see that working. Well, what's his ability? His ability is when your Vanguard attacks, you Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, with the Soul Blast need to be this card. And then you stand this unit. So you kind of, let's say, ride into Siegfried. Get Force 2. Give Force 2 to this card. Or let's say give Force 2 to the other rare guard, which is, let's say, a Juggernaut Maximum. Then you have 2 Counterblasts to go with. You use your Counterblast on this card, you put this card into your soul, and with that, you kind of get the ability to use him, because now you have him in your soul. The problem is, he costs a Counterblast as well, which is a lot. And now, you could attack with that Vanguard first, then attack with this one, then attack with your Siegfried. Then, if Siegfried hits, you could restand that Vanguard, and this will also restand because of his ability. Now, we go back to Bullspike. If you go into Bullspike, there is no easy way to put this card into your soul. If there is, then this would work great with Bullspike. Why? Because first you have your force marker 2, which is force 2 on this card. You attack with this card, your opponent will guard because it's not a high attacking number. Then you attack with Bullspike. You move that marker to Bullspike. This would restand. And with that, you could then attack with this again, and then move that marker again, and you could do a lot of different stuff. But again, his ability is suitable for him being common. I could see this card being tagged in different decks, but again, his uses, in my opinion, is just good in a deck that was made for this card, which would not be a consistent deck. It would be more like a fun deck. So this card would be a card that will be put in my Spike Brother binder for some time until I will really use it in standard or in premium. The art gets 3 from 5 because I still think it does look amazing. It being a GRANDMOBILE, everybody is like shoved around, and it has the ball like in his hand, and he's like giving no fuck about everybody in his path, which is amazing. The uses, again, I think there's one deck that could use him, one of the standard decks maybe, or a standard deck made for this card. And then the skill gets 2 from 5. Being even a common, I don't think that this skill is too good. I think that if they made it just a Soul Blast, one copy of him, that I could see him played, but Counter Blast and Soul Blast, meaning that you could not use him that easy with Siegfried, and yeah, I don't know. Even if we have a restanding Vanguard, then this card will not do that much in my opinion, and we will definitely not get a restanding Vanguard, so get that thought out of your head. Alright, so he's good with Siegfried, more attack with Force 2, which is good, using Bullspike. Then it's really bad right target, and it makes the deck really inconsistent. Alright, now for the second rare for this video. We have Provoke Needle. This card is really good. It's kind of different than Braki, it's different approach to that, but it's also just a common. Let's see. It has the continuous ability that it said whenever this card has a marker beneath it, it gets an extra 10k. But that also works in both turns, which makes it a very good defensive card as well for itself. There's one thing I don't like about this card, is that only 10k with marker. So in the early game it does nothing, Braki is way better, and it does not recycle itself, so you do not get your normal triggers out of your deck to get more triggers. But yeah, I mean, you could run one copy of it, while with Braki you have to practically run at least 3. So that also makes it good if you like to tag one card in there and you really don't have space for Braki, then you could tag this as 1 or 2 off. That would be better than Braki. So for its art, it's 4 from 5. It's different than the other grade 2 that we already have covered, because that one is like from the upside down and this one from down upwards, and the picture that is made. So that's good about it. I do like the colors, the wings, you can see the sky, you can see the lights of the fields. It's really nice. You could even see his tail going around, so that's pretty cool. The uses, I do see this card being used in standard, especially because now maybe we have less space to use our Brakis. Then I would definitely use this card, but it is less good in the early game. But now we have boosters in the early game, so that's still good. But now with different approaches to the clan, this is a very good card to have, as could be as stable as a replacement for Braki. But still, the uses is 3 from 5 because I really don't see this card being played like in premium. I see that, yeah, could be a tag in premium, but still, in my opinion, Braki is better, because having that, especially in premium, having the ability to call Braki in the early game, having attacking for 20k is really good, and then in late game it doesn't really matter, because you will not leave him there, because you're attacking with your Agrius, you're replacing him, or you're getting him out with their Picaro, or you're using him with the GB8, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, then the skill is also 3 from 5. Why? Well, it could have gotten more than 3. Also, remember, in Spike you want to rush in the early game. This is another card that does not help with that. So it kind of feels like a less good Brachy. That's how I see it. So the skill is good on both turns, which is a continuous ability. Then you only need one copy for this card to work, which is better than Brachy in a way. But the bad thing, Brachy is just way better in the early game. That's about it for this card. Alright, now we have our last card for this set, which is Jackknife Janus. The thing about this card, the first thing that comes to mind is of course the art. I do like the art, but not that much. I expected it, I don't know. I'm giving it 3 from 5. Then let's talk about this skill. At first, it is a very good skill that would work with a lot of different decks. But that said is, at the end of the battle, it boosts a rearguard. And that rearguard circle has a marker. So again, it only works with kind of the new mechanic of you moving your markers around. You pay the cost, which is a counterblast of 1. Then you put a rearguard into your soul and you draw a card. Focus on the cost. The cost is you only paying a counterblast of 1, not putting the rearguard into your soul. That's kind of part of the skill, which makes this card amazing with the GB8, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So first, again, the R3 from 5. The uses of this card is 4 from 5. Why? You could use it in both standard decks, you could use it with the aggro deck, you could use it with the Pattern Dragger deck to have more pluses, and you could use it with a GB8 deck. The only one deck that you could really not use it with is the charge deck, because the charge deck uses more risings, and rising do not give markers, and then also the card cost counterblast, which is a lot to ask from even in the aggro deck, and with decks that like using because you're doing 1 for 1, so that's why the skill does only get 4 from 5, but the skill is amazing with the GB8, which I'll talk about. So first, the skill is really good to get your pluses back to your hand, because now you have this card on the field, it boosts something like a Panther, which you're already losing, and you get your plus back to your hand, which is good. But again, it costs a counterblast, so we need a way to countercharge easily. I don't know if we will get that, but we'll have to wait and see. Third thing is, it combos amazing with the GB8. How does that work? Well, it's kind of different than the offensive. The offensive work in a different timing, but both of them are good. This card, whenever it boosts a unit at the end of that battle, you pay the cost, which is a counterblast of 1. So let's say that this card boosts a Juggernaut Maximum. You put the skill of the GB8 on the Juggernaut Maximum, not on this card. Or you could do both. Like let's say you attack first with your GB8, you put your GB8 skill on the Juggernaut Maximum, then you attack with the Juggernaut Maximum boosted by this card, put the GB8 skill on this card, and then you have the GB8 skill on Maximum and this card. Which is good, that could work. Then you do not have this card left at rest, which is good. But you could also like reuse it with cards like Against Rector, I don't know. You could do different combos. But why is this card good with the GB8? Well, first you activate the skill of the GB8, which means you put that rearguard that this card already boosted into your soul, and you put a card from your hand into your soul and you call something on the field. Then this card skill kicks in. It did boost a rearguard, and that rearguard did had a marker on it. So even if that rearguard is no more on the field, her skill jumped on standby, so you could still pay a counterblast of 1. There is nothing to put into your soul because that rearguard is gone because of the GB8 skill, and you still draw a card. So it's a +1 in your GB8 turn, which is amazing. The question is, do we have space to play this card? I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. If we get a better countercharger, maybe we take Tier out, and then you have more space for cards like these, which is also good defensive power because it's a 10k shield, while cards like Tier have only 5k shield. So that's in my opinion why this card is very good with the GB8. It's the same as Eliza. It does give you your +1 for a counterblast of 1, which is like Spike Monster already does that, but again, sometimes you run out of Spike Monsters. It's good versus Kagero and Narukami. In standard, because now that rare that would already be retired by Narukami is gone into your soul to draw a card. That's why this card is good. Again, one problem, it costs counterblast. It's also amazing in premium versus Link Joker, because now you could put that attacking rare also into your soul to draw a card, and then they have nothing to lock on your front row, which means you can, on the next turn, you could still attack with that space that you have in your rare circle in the front row. So that's good. The downside to this card, again, for the 5th time, it costs counterblast. It's too much. It is really too much to ask from Spike to have another card that costs counterblast. Siegfried, it does abuses your counterblast. If this card was more made to work with Bullspike, then I could understand that, and you could put a lot of Panthers in there, and you could still attack with the 15k because that's good with Panther, and you could still like get the draws. But we have seen this before. A lot of cards, especially like the great ones, do kind of leave an open rare circle behind them. Does this mean something? Do they really want to make Spike also in premium work good, because now you have more options to leave open rare circles? I mean, this works great with cards like Picaro, so maybe we have to wait and see how this would look when the rest of the set is revealed. And last but not least, this card again works only with markers, and that would mean it only works good on your grade 3 onwards, and before that it does nothing in the early game. And that's actually kind of it for this video. What we have left is of course Bad and Dragger, which is the card that I'm really excited to see, because this card will make a difference in Spike. I'm sure of it. Just him being like having the Bad and Dragger name and having a marker is already very good. So we have 22 cards to go. The first one is the VR, which we already have seen. Then we have 2 triple rares we know nothing about. Maybe one of them is the Bad and Dragger. Maybe Bad and Dragger is just another double rare. We don't know. Then we have 2 more double rares to cover. We have about 4 rares to cover and only 2 commons and 1 card we know nothing about. And that was it. I would like to thank you guys for all the love and the support you give to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the videos, and also go to our Facebook group if you're not already there. You could be a part of our Facebook group, like, and also talk with us about what you think about the new cards, what you think about the videos, and tell us in the comment section below also what you think about these reveals for Spark Brothers and which card you're the most excited to use. For me, I would have to wait until we see more. Thanks guys for watching yet again. Until next time.